Here in America, Andy, President Obama is preparing for his inauguration in a week to a very different atmosphere than last time. He was, of course, swept to power 4 years ago on a wave of expectation that he was going to change the world with a wave of his magic ears. But 4 years on, those limitless dreams have been replaced with a much more achievable hope that he'll at least not be legislatively castrated over the next 4 years and might manage to squeeze out a bit of gun control, maybe a slice of a new immigration bill over the next year or so, and at least prevent his healthcare plan from being taken into the forest and shot. Economically, it's well known that the president inherited an enormous sack of shit and has been desperately trying to find ways to get America to eat that shit for the last term. But a new plan which is circulating is a plan that I haven't actually heard before. In an effort to circumvent the upcoming debt ceiling debate and all the political grandstanding and bickering that comes not just hand in hand with that, but handcuffed to it as well, there is a suggestion the president could just mint a $1 trillion platinum coin and boom, debt ceiling solved. Essentially, the government could mint this coin and the Treasury Department could then use it to cover the nation's debt obligations. And I mean, it's so simple, it couldn't possibly work, right? Right? Because the idea has gained traction here all week. New York Representative Nadler argued that it was actually a much better option than another fight over raising the US debt ceiling that could result in America defaulting. Even Paul Krugman in the New York Times has announced his support for this idea. He said that if it looks like America is about to default, it should do it, saying he will, after all, be faced with a choice between two alternatives. One that's silly but benign, and the other that's equally silly but both vile and disastrous. The background is, it turns out there is actually a legal loophole which allows the Treasury to mint platinum coins in any denomination the Secretary chooses. It was intended just to allow commemorative collector's item coins, but the law does not technically restrict it to just that. So by minting a $1 trillion coin, you could then essentially just wander over and deposit it at the Fed, meaning that the Treasury could then get enough cash to avoid the debt ceiling while essentially not doing much harm at all. And Andy, the thing I love the most about this is that it might be the most childish solution to the most childish problem in human history.
Well, it just shows, John, it's the age-old rule of economics. You have to fight the problems caused by idiotic economics and gambling on stuff that doesn't exist with idiotic economics and gambling on stuff that doesn't exist. It is the only language global economics understands, and it's a very attractive option, John. It's so much more convenient than, for example, creating a stable and more equitable global economic system, which is, frankly, a pain in the arse. And it could solve all of America's economic problems. The only snag being, it's going to be very tough to find anywhere that you can use that coin, John. To be able to get change for it, you're going to have to buy something that costs close to $1 trillion. And basically all you're looking at there is a space program or a massive arms deal, and that's just repeating the cycle of overspending on needless shit that got us into this mess in the first place.
Yeah, try giving that to a cab driver. I can't take this. You have to take it. You have to take it. It's legal tender. You have to take it.
Also, it's going to be very hard for whoever has to deliver that coin to the Federal Reserve to walk around with it in their pocket trying to look normal, knowing the weight of what they've got. Hey, Rico, nice to see you. How you doing? I'm fine. Get out of my way. What's up? You seem a bit edgy. I'm f***ing fine. Get the f*** out of my way before I call the cops, Dad. Keep your helmet on, son. Why are you wearing a helmet? No reason, I just like helmets. Are you okay, son? You've been a bit distant since that guy from the Mint came round with that delivery. I'm f***ing fine. I'm f***ing fine. Why are you hobbling around with both hands over your pocket? Why is there razor wire all over your trousers and 3 guard dogs poking out of your belt? And what's with the armed security escort? You trying to hide something? Are you trying to f***ing hide something?
And the beauty of this story is, Andy, even the White House is currently refusing to completely rule out the idea. And of course they're doing that, Andy, because it's a phenomenal suggestion. Who doesn't want a $1 trillion coin to exist? For a start, one thing is for damn sure, Nicolas Cage is going to try and steal that coin, Andy. And if he does, I, for one, will be watching. And in fact, that brings up a key point. How would you protect the coin? Would they stash it in Fort Knox, or would they make a special platinum wallet to carry it around in? And whose face do you put on the coin? It's probably got to be a president, in which case I think you have to go with William Howard Taft, Andy. The fattest president for the fattest unit of currency in American history. And they should also use that coin for the coin toss each year at the start of the Super Bowl. It would add some much-needed pizzazz to that usually dour, reserved affair. Just Imagine how dramatic it would be. A referee, visibly nervous, sweating, knowing that he has multiple guns on him should he try and run away, looking to the team captains, flicking the coin in the air and shouting, "Taft or tails!" And to show just what a mess the American economy is in and just what President Obama is up against for the next 4 years, in one of the ballsiest imaginable moves, a group of AIG shareholders here is launching a lawsuit against the US government over the terms of their bailout in 2008. And AIG themselves spent the first half of this week seriously considering joining it. Now, on the official corporate ballometer, Andy, the scientific instrument that gauges the size of a corporation's testicles during any given action, you will see that those are some pretty gargantuan balls. On the scale, I believe they rank somewhere between regulation-sized basketball and space hopper. Just to be clear, the American taxpayer, which now includes me, Andy, saved AIG
At last.
from what was almost certain bankruptcy. And now AIG is going to thank us by suing us. That is like someone robbing your house, slipping and falling on the way out, and then suing you for breaking their leg. When they came up with that lawsuit, there must have been jumping up and down in the conference room, Andy, and high-fiving, as well as a deep clanging sound everywhere in the room, made by their giant titanium testicles slamming together.
This made a great. I mean, I think this has been a strong start to 2013 for America, John. We had the obviously the hitting baseballs off a warship into a crowd of jet skis last year, but the $1 trillion coin and suing the government for bailing you out. I mean, that's really taking Americanism to a whole new financial level.
That is the claim. The claim is that they're doing this really in the most American possible way, because it turns out they're claiming that the terms of the bailout deal forced AIG into a loan with a high interest rate, which was unfair to its shareholders as it deprived them of tens of billions of dollars in extra profit and, crucially, violated the Fifth Amendment, which prohibits the taking of private property for public uses. So AIG is going to use the Fifth Amendment to sue us, Andy. In that case, allow me to use the First Amendment to tell them to go themselves. Because how thoughtless it was for us to have saved AIG's arse for them, Andy. Did we somehow not save it enough? Could we have saved it better? Would they have preferred us to save their arse, then polish that arse up, slip a 20 between its cheeks, and then bake their arse a cake to thank them for letting us save it? Now, on the plus side, Andy, this lawsuit has done the impossible and fully united America for the first time in decades. This country cannot agree on anything at the moment, apart from how much everyone now thinks that AIG is a bunch of grade A, platinum grade dick satchels. They've become a lightning rod for hate, and sadly, not a lightning rod for actual lightning.
Well, I mean, talking about the $1 trillion coin, I mean, that could be, something in, all future bailouts being, in billion-dollar banknotes slapped on the arses of the managing directors of failing banks. I think it would be a far more honest relationship between the government and the banks that have got them into that trouble.
The only person in America who publicly stated that this lawsuit was a good idea was a man called David Boies, who wrote an op-ed in USA Today. But it turned out that David Boies is actually the ex-CEO of AIG's lawyer, who is the man behind the whole lawsuit. So the only person stating that they're in support of this is literally being paid to say that. And luckily, the op-ed was only in USA Today, so people aren't going to read it so much as they're going to step over it in the morning when exiting their hotel rooms. Boom! Paper slam, Andy. Paper slam. And all this is happening at the same time that AIG are running national TV commercials announcing that they've successfully paid off the entire bailout loan and thanking America for its help pulling them out of bankruptcy. The current ad says, "We at AIG said we were going to turn it around, and we did. We're helping Joplin, Missouri come back from a devastating tornado. And now we're helping the East Coast recover from Hurricane Sandy." Yeah, and you know why you're doing that, AIG? Because you're a fucking insurance company. You're not doing any of that out of charity. You're doing it because you're contractually obliged to. And even then, you're trying to wheedle out of some of those claims. Anyway, the ad goes on to say, "We're now leaner and focused on what we do best. We've repaid every dollar America lent us. We turned it around. Thank you, America. Thank you, America. Thank you, America, for the freedom to ensure a brighter future." And yet, Andy, they very nearly joined this lawsuit, which is going ahead now anyway. So were those thank yous sarcastic? Am I mishearing the tone of voice there. Was that the first ever sarcastic thank you commercial? Because one thing is for sure. At the end of the world, when this planet is just a pile of smoking rubble, the only things left standing are going to be cockroaches and AIG.
That's Darwinism, John.
Yeah.
That is economic Darwinism.
I actually think it, at the very least, Andy, is appropriate for America to now make some commercials to send a message back to AIG set to similarly cloying music. AIG said they were going to do it, and they did. They paid back their bailout fund, but only after giving hundreds of millions in bonuses to executives. They've paid back every dollar America lent them while bitching and complaining every step of the way, and then considered suing the people that helped them in the first place. They did it. They actually did it. F*** you, AIG. F*** you. Seriously, go f*** yourself. No, seriously. Seriously, AIG. Seriously. F*** you.
USA. USA.